We're here at the front table. To my right is Liz Thomas, a Select Board member. To my immediate right is Joe Bike, fellow Select Board member. To my left is Nicole McStay, who is the assistant to the town administrator. Pam Brenner, our town administrator, will be seated next to her. We have a cameraman who is outside managing our high technology. This is the first evening that we are using a new system, so please bear with us. We have 4 cameras stationed here that will be filming. And as we've done in the past, select board meetings are televised on public television, channel 22. So this entire meeting is being viewed by people who are in their homes. I want to thank you all for sharing this.
There was a seat today.
Just a reminder, if you speak tonight, since we have so many people here, usually we know the usual cast of characters, but you are on TV. So if you could just say, I'm Joe Bike, I live on High Street, or whatever. If you choose to speak, or if you are working for a department, identify the town department.
Most of us know each other, but there are people in the viewing audience that may not. So it's in deference to them that we identify ourselves. Thank you, Joe. Last month, representatives of the Monadnock Country Club approached the town regarding the financial situation of the club. And both the town and the club believe that the Monadnock Country Club property is a very valuable asset to the town and that it should continue to benefit the residents of the town. And so we had some very preliminary discussions about how the town could take the lead in safeguarding the property and facility. Now, any plan to achieve this goal, of course, would have to be approved by the Select Board and would have to be approved by both the Board of Directors of the Monadnock Country Club as well as the membership of the Monadnock Country Club. And should we decide to move forward on this project, of course, any expenditure of taxpayer dollars would have to be in the form of a bond warrant article, and it would have to be approved by 2/3 vote of the residents at a town hall meeting. Our next town hall meeting is in May. So I just want to iterate that we are in preliminary discussions right now, and we're very excited that there's such an interest and that you're here to give us your input. We're going to begin with Rod Bartlett, who's going to give us an overview of everything that we have learned to date. And I'm going to ask you not to ask questions during the presentation. What we've heard often is people will ask questions and then it would have been answered just minutes later. So let's not interrupt him and let him go through his presentation, and then we'd like to hear from all of you. We have no other items on the agenda this evening, so we can stay here as long as we need to so that every one of you can be heard. I want to assure you of that. And all we will do today is consider your comments and what you have to say. No decisions will be made this evening, but we certainly will take all of what you share into consideration before any decisions are made. So let me turn the program over to Rodney. He is going to do a PowerPoint presentation. You are perfectly healthy. It is moving. The screen is moving. It has nothing to do with the martini you might have had before you came or the wine before dinner. We lease, to generate income, we lease the second floor of this townhouse, and right now there's is it a Zumba class or Rumba class? So that's causing the jarring. So we apologize for that. Rodney. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
Good evening. I'm very pleased to see how many people are here tonight. I'm going to go through a little bit of history, some background on the club, and then talk about our discussions with the representatives from the Monadnock Country Club. As you can see from the first slide, the golf course is the 13th oldest course in the state of New Hampshire. Just that in itself is something to be said for. First slide. First. Yeah. first slide does come up, what it will show is the map that we have out front here.
It appears to be suffering from stage fright.
It could be the shaking, Jim. It could be the shaking. That's not the first slide, although it could be
It
representative.
looks like the country club, right?
There we go.
Great.
Sorry about that.
It's the shaking.
But I think so.
What we tried to do is put onto a single slide an aerial view of the golf course, and also a view of what zoning exists out there today and on the parcel off of High Street. I'm assuming most people do know where the golf course is. It's on the way out High Street towards the McDowell Colony. It's on the easterly side, comprises approximately 32 acres. When you begin to look at how much of the parcel that the golf course owns in relationship to how much is golf course, it's full. There's very little land left over to do any other either expansions or new development. On that site, the 9 holes, the putting green, the tennis courts, tower, function hall, really does fill the parcel. The zoning that's out there, it's all residential, but it has 3 different residential zones that cover the parcel. General residence, rural, and family residence, and I'll get into that a little bit more as we move forward. A little bit of history that I stole out of the brochure from the country club is that back in 1899 is when the process started out there. And it was really pushed forward with Edward McDowell and his purchase of the property out there and provisions to provide it to the Peterborough Golf Club in 1900. In fact, if you remember looking at that emblem that was on the very first page, the golf course had its 100th anniversary in 2001. The course began the construction of their first clubhouse back in 1901, and at the very end of that page, you'll see that the dues at that time were $1 for an individual and $2.50 for a family. Things have dramatically changed since then, obviously. One thing I did want to cover on that is that there's been a lot of discussion relative to provisions within the deed as to whether or not the parcel would revert to the town or to the McDowell heirs. And in fact, what happened in 1932, all the restrictions that had been placed in the deeds, the original deeds, were all eliminated. And the control of the parcel lies solely with the Board of Trustees or the membership of the country club. So there's no automatic provisions that if the golf course was no longer to function, that it would revert directly to the town. There is, in their bylaws, Article 15, that has some limitations that the members themselves have control over, and we'll go over those a little bit in the next few slides. On the zoning, just to get this history out of the way, the family district, which is the district that follows High Street, is for single-family or two-family homes with a area for their parcel of 40,000 square feet. The area is serviced by town water and town sewer. So clearly along the frontage on High Street, there's potential for residential development if that was ever to occur. The center zone section, which is the rural district, I believe has a minimum of 3 acres per lot. That is the off-white color in the center. And on the easterly side of the parcel, the green, lime green color is the general residence district, and that has a density, if I read this correctly, of up to 4 units per acre. So on the same parcel, there's 3 different zoning requirements. If it was ever to get in a position that it was bought and developed for residential purposes, there would have to be obviously some discussions with the planning board as to what the ultimate density allowed on that site would be. But from all 32 acres, it's all zoned residential. So that's the background. The future, what's next for Monadnock Community, Monadnock Country Club and the town? We've been in discussions with representatives of the board of directors now for 2.5 months, maybe 3 months. And really what we're trying to identify now is what the role the town should play. There's a number of opportunities with the parcel. Obviously the golf course. There's certainly some other potential recreational uses year-round. The hospitality aspect of the function hall. There's certainly some educational opportunities, and clearly it provides an excellent location for open space needs and services. Where are we today? So we can get to the heart of this and get into some of the questions. Financial status of the Monadnock Country Club is what really brought us here. In our work with the representatives of the board of directors, we've spent some time looking at the financials. Their problem really lies in a revenue issue. The membership has slowly been reduced over the past few years. People are not spending money as freely as they did, and certainly an indication of the economic times that we're in. And when you look towards other recreational facilities like this, it's very common, whether it's either private or municipally owned, to have the same basic situations. Our discussions with the representatives began on what we could do possibly with the taxes. Is there any flexibility in the water bill that we do charge them for the use of the water? And as those discussions continued, we really identified a lot of mutual interests. Those interests being the goal to help safeguard the golf course, safeguard the property. It's a tremendous asset for the community. I think that's probably why everybody's here tonight. And when you look at the history of the golf course, the town of Peterborough is intertwined from the early years to today, particularly in that Article 15 of the bylaws of the country club that refers to the town of Peterborough and possibly having the option to purchase the parcel at some point. We've had some discussions over the potential transfer of the property to the town. The two key aspects, obviously there's a lot of boilerplate and a lot of detail that go with any transfer of property, but the two key aspects is the acquisition value, and our discussions have been that would be equal to the outstanding debt and liabilities that the country club has. And that number, once it's fully identified, would be subject to funding at the May town meeting in 2012. That's 9 months away from us. Right now, we anticipate that value to be somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000. The other key component of our discussions has been how do we accomplish the commitment between the town and the country club for a full operation in 2012. If this effort goes forward such that the town would acquire the property and it's funded at the 2012 town meeting, we would have a shift in ownership in July of 2012, right in the middle of the golf season. So that's been a critical discussion as to how that might be accomplished so that it's, I hate to use the word seamless, but so it is seamless, and so that the members and others who play up there do not see a change in performance of the course. So those are the two key discussions that we've had. We're still working through details that are both satisfactory to the representatives from the board of directors and the select board. A couple other items that have been of interest. The Monadnock Country Club pays on an annual basis between $12,000 and $13,000 of real estate taxes. The cell tower lease, which if we were to go forward with the transfer of the property, the cell tower lease presently pays $24,000. So if the town was to go forward with this or any other third party, that cell tower lease value is real dollars and approximately twice what the property taxes are paid by the country club. A couple other details before we leave this slide. The present assessed value of the country club, it's important to bear in mind that 29.5 acres of the course of the 32 acres is in current use, but the overall assessed value is $488,000. That number may vary a little bit depending on what documents you look at, but that's the number that we have the value of the property not in current use would be significantly higher. In fact, the value in 2006 was over $600,000. But that at least puts in perspective the overall equity of the site. What we've been doing to date, Nancy Bayer from the Finance Department, with some help from Leo Smith, have been looking at the financial analysis and planning of what might be the pluses and minuses on a financial basis for this effort. They've looked at cost centers. They're looking at revenue projections so that we can begin to put together, if we do move forward here, a business plan that we can present during the upcoming months. One of the key discussions that we've just started is the operation and maintenance analysis of the course, future costs, future programs, and by that it's the cutting of the grass, fertilizer, the taking care of the greens, taking care of the building, all the operation and maintenance efforts that occur for a golf course and a function room. And that will include even looking at different contract operations, contractual operations that we can do with a third party. In our review of some of the golf courses in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, there are a number of those courses that are operated and maintained by a third party through a contract. So that'll also be part of our review. I think one of the key factors to keep in mind is that something needs to change. Something must change so that we can reverse the negative revenue trends at the course. In all our discussions, the operation and cost that the country club has occurred over the past several years have been fairly consistent. What has happened is that the revenues have begun to fall off. So there will be a very concerted effort as to how you generate those new revenues. And again, as you look back at some of the opportunities, that's more year-round recreational uses, maybe additional uses of the hospitality, the function hall, we'll use that word, and really trying to generate some additional revenues. What are some of the alternatives? Because that's a key part of any analysis. There's the potential that a third party may express interest and opt to look to the board of directors and possibly the town to buy the facility and operate it as a golf course. Another opportunity is the country club could vote to sell the property. And again, our Article 15 of the bylaws at this point have some limitations in that, but those bylaws are controlled by the membership of the country club. So if it was advantageous for the club to change those to make their position more viable or more attractive, they would have the ability to do that. Another potential is bank intervention and moving into the property, taking the property and selling it. And obviously the one option that we do not want to follow is the do nothing option, but it's always one that you need to look at. So this is why we're here. We need your input. We need to know what people are thinking. We need to know what your thoughts, what your questions are. We need to hear what you think about the present operation at the country club, potential new uses, pros and cons, and critically, is the town and the country club on the right track to safeguard the facility? I think we're all in agreement that it is a tremendous asset to the community, and since the town has been involved off and on throughout the history of the club, I think it's important that the town and the country club board of directors look to this public input to make sure that we are on the right course. So.
Great. Okay. I'm trying to think of how it would be most manageable for people to comment without having to create any kind of lines, and so perhaps speaking from your chair would make the most sense. And yes, Jim?
Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
I think that the retention of the country club is extremely valuable for several reasons, not the least of which is that it sits on a valuable recharge area for the aquifer down on Summer Street. I'm a member of the Water Resources Advisory Committee for the selectmen in town, And that whole area is very, very valuable in terms of keeping water purity. And if it was developed, that would probably be lost, I think. I'm certainly not in favor of the town owning another property, but I think it should be somehow protected. And if that means that temporarily perhaps the town would own it, then I think that has some value.
That was Jim Orr
Yes, Jim
from
Moore, I'm
Peterborough.
sorry, about Woodland Heights.
So before you choose to speak, we do need to have you identify yourself. And if you are on a committee or a board or have some information to share, please do so. And I'll just take, raise your hand and we'll just call you. Is there someone here that has a question or would like to speak to this issue?
This is awful quiet.
Yeah. Yes.
My name's Richard Clark. I live out on Greenfield Road. I play golf. I enjoy it, of course, but I don't think the town should own it, period. Governments, they serve their purpose, but this is not one of them. I think we can find a third party. Maybe you guys could go forward with trying to find a way to get the rights to ever developing it, something like that. But I definitely don't want to see you guys own it, because you're wrecking it. I gotta say it.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? Yes. Could you?
I'm Brad Cox, living down here. I played golf today up there. I came with an open mind. After I played today, I'm not sure if that's great, but I think you ought to have a golf course in town, even though I didn't have a good day.
You and Tiger Woods.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there are really two questions. One is whether the town acquires the property, which, without getting into the details of the proposed P&S, the members have given us a pretty good price, and as Rodney says, we're just figuring out a couple of details. And then the question is what we do with it. And I agree with the gentleman in the back that, running a golf course is not our core competency. But as Rodney says, we could put it out to a management company. If not, we could put it into conservation. I think we should protect all of our neighborhoods, and we should not put it out for development and have 100 houses up there every 4 or 8 or whatever. And I will certainly oppose that idea if it ever gets any traction. So keep in mind that we are trying to preserve this property, and hopefully it's a golf course. If someone will take it over, I don't see the town taking it over and losing more money because we'll do it more expensively. And if not, we can simply put it into conservation and mow the lawns, have a couple putting greens for it.
That is not the decision of the board. That is just a Rex opinion. I noticed that there are a lot of members here from the club. So could you just identify yourself, those of you that are members of the club, current members of the club? And I'm assuming that, are you here speaking on behalf of keeping it as a golf course? Joe said one of the issues we need to decide is to keep it as a golf course. How many of you would like to see it remain as a golf course for your personal use and to benefit the residents of Peterborough?
Okay. And that would be preferable. That's the first.
I'd like to ask the gentleman in the back who said that he didn't think that the town should take it over. Have you ever played at a municipal golf course? Are you from?
Well,
and I wondered why
I'll
you
look at
felt
that.
we couldn't do that.
I don't have a problem with those clubs, but what are the costs? I mean, you're a government agency, you're not meant to run golf courses. I mean, I'm a contractor, I don't do heart surgery. It's one of those things. You specialize, that's where you specialize. I understand what you're trying to do is not have 100 houses up there. That's okay. Somehow come up with an idea to do that and maybe a third party will come along, maybe give them some tax credits, take the rights weight that they could ever develop it, and then those taxes would fall, and someone might be able to run it at a profit. You know?
And we're in the process of what we call due diligence, which is to see if in fact, and maybe Rodney, you can comment more, if in fact we can turn this around so it does, if not generate revenue for the town, would at least break even.
It's a slippery slope. You're saying you hope you can generate. But
Right.
once you're in there, you're in there. And
Right.
then it's just another thing on my line item that I gotta pay for.
One of the things that we're looking at is what other uses would there be for the facility? We have a very well-qualified recreation department, and they have, they've said that there might be some things to do in the winter that could generate some income that are not being done now. So there are some options that we're just looking at right now, but we appreciate your comment. Let's see, right here, please.
Question of clarification. Mention was made of the aquifer, which I think is terribly important.
Mhm.
But having dug a well that never produced anything, I'm wondering where the water is.
You're referring to the board of,
Pardon?
you're referring to the well that was dug by the
Yes,
country
yes.
club? Okay. Can anyone comment on
Well,
that?
the water that I was referring to, the aquifer is down on Summer Street, but you see.
Quite a way down.
What's that?
That's quite a way down.
It is. However, this is a recharge area for that. And in terms of raising revenue, the development rights on the property could be sold. There are many organizations in New Hampshire, locally, Monadnock Conservancy, Paris Center, et cetera, who could raise money to buy the development rights. That money then could be used to pay back taxes. And if improvements were made in revenue producing, perhaps it could stay on its own feet.
Mhm. Thank you. Yes, Fran? Could you identify yourself, Fran?
Frank Chapman.
Thank you.
I came late. I apologize, Rodney, I didn't hear what you said. And if I repeat anything, I'm sorry for that too. I sensed when I was thinking about this meeting tonight that this is a very emotional, caring situation. It isn't black and white, it isn't red numbers and black numbers or anything like that. It's feeling. And I sensed it. And I said, how in the devil do you go from facts and reality to feeling? That's the hard jump. And the crowd here tonight confirms what I thought in the beginning. I'm going to read what I wrote because I just wrote it, and I didn't have time to memorize it, if you will. May I?
Yes.
Why are we here? I think what Rodney tried to do was tell you why we're here. And I am not sure yet why we are here, but I know we should be here. And I make that distinction. I assume we are here to give the input to the selectmen to make them or give them the opportunity to decide what should be done. It being the it of what if. It's the it is the discussion that was behind closed doors necessary in a situation like this and we are not privy to. So I assumed that the Monadnock Country Club has to make some changes. They're between a rock and a hard place. How to get out from behind that rock, they are giving us an opportunity to maybe make a suggestion. I am not aware of any deed restrictions or conditions or any other recorded conditions that would alter what we're talking about. There may be some and they would overrule anything else. In conversations with a lot of people, I found some people saying, what are you talking about? What change, what country club are you talking about? Others are saying, yeah, but so what? And others, we must have a country club. This is going to go 180 degrees from one person to another. It's just going to go that way. I found many are not aware of what we're talking about. If you looked at the paper today, there was nothing in it in the paper, regrettably. But you didn't have to have anything in the paper today because you are here. Look at the number. They're sitting out in the hall here. I can't remember when we did this. We've had town meetings upstairs that didn't draw such a crowd. And I can understand why. We are not, well, what I did was, I said, how big is Peterborough now? And what I found out was that we now own $28 million worth of property in town. Rivermead owns 19 million. And the Monadnock Community Hospital owns 50. We are in the upper group. We are one of the highest, biggest property owners in town. We bite the apple on this one. If we say this is another challenge that we ought to accept and run with it, we're just adding to the problem maybe we already have. And that would not be good. I wrote down 8 questions. I don't know how many questions you thought to yourself, other than, I want to be there, I want to know what's going on. Should the town assume ownership of the country club? That is probably number 1, number 2, and number 3. Is there any need for the town to own the property? What would the town do with it? How much will it cost in lost taxes if we buy it? Should we bond the purchase? What is the highest and best use of the property? What limitations do the 3 zones put on the value of the property? Is foreclosure imminent? Every one of those could take a night's meeting to discuss. This is not a simple matter. I had a chance to buy the property known as the Grand Army of the Republic, or the GAR Hall. I wouldn't do it. I had the chance to vote for the Armory. I wouldn't buy it. And when I had a chance to vote for NEBS, I didn't do it. With town ownership, over 28 million now, we have become the biggest, if not the biggest, but close to it, property owner in town. I think we are not in the development business. We have all kinds of things we got to do to manage what we have. We don't need any more land or buildings. This parcel may be, in my opinion, one of the best locations in town. I really believe that. And I think your presence here is an indication that you think about the same thing. Even though zoning might limit the potential, might limit the value, it still, to me, is one of the best sites in town. No matter who buys it, or what use might be for the future. The first thing I would recommend is clean up the zoning and make this a viable property. It's got 3 zones, trouble. Nobody's going anywhere. We own a pond, a pool, athletic fields, tennis courts, and acres of land. And we don't have any pressing need to manage and own a regional golf course. See, this is regional. They changed their name, if you remember, from Peterborough to Monadnock. This is bigger than just Peterborough. If professionals, amateurs, and volunteers cannot manage the course to break even, what is there to assume the town can do better? If the market is such that people aren't golfing, it's just like having kids in school. Babies don't come, we don't have anybody to go to school. You don't have kids that want to become golfers, then you don't have golfers. Why do people not golf here? And they tell me, oh, I go up to Sunapee, and I go here, and I go there. Why don't you go to the golf course right up here? There's some that have that attitude. You could say that some think this is a great asset for the town. Golfers can say, boy, it's close and handy. And others say, I don't need any more taxes. The I don't need any more taxes don't seem to me to be drawing the crowd here tonight, but I don't know that. What's to become of the property? That is really why we're here. Foreclosure? Possible. Open market sale? The natural thing to do. Town assume the property for taxes? Someone who donates $1 million to subsidize the losses? That has got to be a consideration, because I believe it can happen. Change the zoning. Oh, boy, you got to do that. Added expensive extensions of the sewer lines. You're talking money. That's a long pull from the road up to any building sites. There are 2 basic conditions under which to make judgment as to its highest and best use. As an appraiser, as a realtor, it's the highest and best use that always counts. That's what determines your assessment, the highest and best use. The 2 kinds. A, with existing zoning in place and no sewer, and B, with new zoning and extended sewer lines. Big difference. A, assuming zoning is, and no sewer extensions are, I sense the highest and best use, a single family home, a sheep farm. all the hills and waves and everything, all cut up, ready for grazing. A church of prayer and a school. That's the only ones I could think of, but I'm sure there are others.
Fran, excuse me, because there are so many people here that may want to speak, how much longer would you need?
1 page.
Okay, thank you.
If zoning is in place that expanded the current uses and sewer extensions, what would the uses be? What would the threat be? Condominiums, apartments, maybe a hotel. What are the total benefits and values that make this property great, in my mind? Good sized parcel, a cell tower income, a functional meeting hall, tennis courts, garages, town water, hydrants, peaceful site, access that does and can handle traffic that is created by the McDowell Colony, the Divine Mercy Church, or PES. My opinion. It should. It could be highly marketable piece of property. Highly marketable piece of property. And with or without a golf course. And with or without zoning change. The market for this property is going to be good. My overview lacks any answers, so I couldn't even tell you tonight how I feel. But I know one thing, you're on the right track to being here. The next step is your input. You didn't give enough input to these people to make it worth coming. You got to speak up. That's what they're looking for. And I don't want to be the only one doing what I'm doing. There should be 10 of you standing in line going to talk longer than me. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran, for your opinion. All right, yes, right here, Jim.
I'm Jim McInnes. I live at 335 Sand Hill Road, and I'm currently president of Monadnock Country Club. The club has been clear, and Rod did an excellent job in the presentation, and we agree wholeheartedly with what he had to present. Our biggest desire, of course, is to keep it as open space and as a golf course. And we would like to hear from anybody that would like to keep it open as a golf course. We have given the town the first option, and that's what you'll be looking at. So we hope that you will support this. Where can you get something that they could take over for less than half of its value? I think we have the support of McDowell. I see Representative McDowell calling here. We don't want to see the bank have to take it over and sell it and have it become house lots. Those, I don't believe, are going to pay for themselves. There are some other things other than golf going on up there, though. As an example, a Place to Go program for the youngsters who, after school, are basically locked out. They currently rent the bottom floor of our clubhouse. Part of the deal that we would have is that would continue. And we want that to continue. There's few enough things for the kids in this town. The club can and close, and we're about the last one going. We'd like to see that continue. It's a as we said, it's a beautiful piece of property. We do not want to see it turned into a house lot, and we'll do everything we can. We'll talk to anyone, but the town has the first option, and hopefully you'll support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Sorry, I don't know your name. Could you identify yourself, please?
Jane Blanchard, Old Dublin Road, Peterborough.
Thank you.
My husband's very active in the club. He doesn't talk a lot.
Yes.
But my question is, where in this process is it going to be known to some entrepreneur that wants to come in and purchase the club? Are we going to take a lot of time to come to the decision, the town, take it over or at least assist, and then the country club, whatever that process goes to? When is this third opportunity going to be presented to those out there that may have an interest in purchasing it and maintaining it as a club in the way that we do it now?
Mm-hmm.
It's a two-step process. One is that we will have I don't speak for my colleagues, but I'm pretty certain that, assuming we sign a purchase and sale, which seems highly probable, that will be subject to town meeting approval, because 3 of us cannot make the decision to purchase the property. So that will be next May. And I'm fairly confident that the town will vote for all the reasons expressed tonight to support the purchase. Then we move on to what to do with it. And that will be, you know, we Peterboroughites being what we are, a process, you know, and hopefully we can find a management company to, I agree with the gentleman in the back that, you know, that's not our core competency, running a golf course, but hopefully we can find a management company. And if not, we put it into conservation, but I agree with the president personally that I personally don't want to see 100 house lots up there. So it's
We
kind of
do,
a two-stage process.
we do have some next steps already planned, and Rodney, you were going to tell us the next process, next steps. Yes.
I wasn't suggesting it be in house lots.
Right. No, I understand.
Purchase it.
Right.
Thank you.
Barbara, could I just clarify that it doesn't need to be either a golf course or in conservation. It can be both. You can write a conservation easement that permits playing golf.
Right.
Thank you, Jim.
When you say put it in conservation, please explain how.
That means that it would never be developed other than the terms under which the conservation easement is written. And it could have a clause in there, for example, that if the golf course went broke again, that it could revert back to the town. That's all language that can be included in the conservation easement. But the main thing is you would be selling off the rights to ever develop that land. And I think that's really important at this point, that, you know, before we even look at any venture capitalist or anything, that we protect it from ever being developed. Because even if another company takes over as a golf course, they can then sell it for residential activity. And I think we should try to protect that from happening.
Liz has a comment.
The easement itself is usually owned by a conservation entity. In some cases, for instance, the Monadnock Conservancy, they have a system whereby if anything happens to them, the responsibility for the easements goes to another entity, in some cases the New Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forest, so forth. And many of them have it go to a nature conservancy. So there are systems, I mean, it's built in that once the easement is secured, it's presumably protected. I mean, the system, the effort is to protect it, and that is so that it doesn't.
So that it won't be developed.
So that it won't, well, yeah, because that's.
As residences.
I'm sorry?
As residences.
It would not, if that were the case, it would not be developed as residences, yes.
And in exchange, you get money for that.
Yeah.
As you're selling the development rights.
But to people who are not going to use them, if you see what, nobody's, as Jim said.
Right. In the back of the room, Dawn? I'm sorry.
Mrs. Derby's been trying to get your attention for
Oh,
about 10 minutes.
I'm sorry, I just can't
It's
see.
okay, I'm down here.
Could you identify yourself?
Ellen Derby. I live on High Street. I am not a member of the golf course. I am a neighbor of the golf course. I wanted to come tonight to tell you that my experience with the town getting involved in land has not been a good one, and it involved the country club. The country club purchased land and got permission from the selectmen and the town when the land was land that abuts my property was turned down for school building. And at the town meeting, they all said, we don't want it to be used for development, it should go to the country club. But the town did not do what people are telling me, look out for. You've got to protect the land with covenants or development things, because the land that was never going to get developed, we need to give it to the country club. The country club bought it for less money than the high bidder, which, for your information, was my family. So they got it for less money than it was, that the town could have gotten for it. And then, because of their financial plans and so forth, they then were able to sell it. It is now going to be developed if the plan goes through, the developer is highly developing that land. I want the town to be cautious about getting involved in these things. They've got to be very careful about what is done. And as a person in this town who's feeling the tax problem, to add something more that might not be more, might not help the tax burden on the people, it's just not right. Particularly for those of us who are getting older, these are our homes and the taxes keep going up, and I see something like this and I say, what is it gonna end up costing? So please don't get involved in something without doubly tying it up so that it doesn't come back and bite us. Because as far as I'm concerned, the property that's now going to be heavily developed is coming back to bite us. So please watch out for that, and I do appreciate what this gentleman said. The town is not going to be a great golf club owner, and you people are looking into a third party. But please remember, not everybody in this town can keep affording these lovely things that you want to do. It's nice to have a golf course, but I can't play golf. I don't have the money to play golf, and if all my taxes go for it, it's going to affect other things. So anyways, I'm just wanted to say, please be careful and follow through with the tying up of development and so forth.
Thank you, Ellen, for your opinion. Yes, right here. Phyllis?
I'm Phyllis Porter, and I live on 20 Hunter Farm Road. I would like to see the golf club maintained, obviously, because I'm a golfer. But I think you need to be aware of what the golf club means to new people coming into the community. It is a place to make friends. It is a place to learn about the town. It's a place to interact. I'm a relatively newcomer, having been here only 8 years. The people at the country club could not have been nicer or more supportive to a new person coming into this community, and that's very important for this community. I think the other thing we need to keep in mind, I too have a limited income and pay taxes, but we are a member of a community, and when we have an asset, I believe we should do all we can to keep it. The community club is an asset, as was the swimming pool. I don't swim, but I did support the swimming pool because it's an asset to some members of our community, and I look at the country club the same way. So I'm hoping that somehow we will be able to find a way to keep this asset and not let it grow into fields. That would be terrible. And if people don't know the country club, for heaven's sakes, drive up the road and take a look. It's a gem. It looks like Ireland out there now. It's beautiful. You know, if you don't know, I don't understand why people in this community don't know about the club. I mean, there's signs all over the place, Monadnock Country Club, so I don't get that, but that's not my problem. But, you know, if you don't know it, go up and take a look at it before you make a judgment about what we should do or shouldn't do. Times are hard. Taxes are difficult. But to throw away an asset like that, I think, would be a little short-sighted, knowing that we do have some of these problems we have to get into in terms of how you run it and that kind of thing, but those are solvable. So I ask for your support.
Thank you. Okay. David.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm David Macy. I'm with the McDowell Colony, and I've been listening and have been impressed at how much common ground there is in the room. People advocating for the stewardship of a parcel of land that was given in 1900 to serve the public as an outdoor recreation facility. It seems that golf, like every other sport, is cyclical. The economy is cyclical. But if this course is let go, it'll be gone forever. When more golf players come along, young kids growing up in town or older people who are retiring here, it won't be there as that public service. That's not to mention all the other functions that are going on there, like the Rotary and all the different clubs that meet there, the weddings that are held there. It is a community asset. It's, I think that the other area of common ground, of near unanimity, is that if it can't be sustained as a golf course, that it has value as open space, as public recreation land. And there's a lot of smart people in this room, there's a lot more smart people in town. There's a lot of ways to change the path that the course is on, and hopefully it can be sustained. So the question here is there anything that the town can do to intervene at a critical juncture that's going to wind up providing for some longevity to something that's been a public asset for 111 years? And I hope that intelligence prevails.
Thank you.
I agree with you, David. I think, we're, as I said a couple days ago, the Native American Indians always thought that they weren't owners of property, they were caretakers. And everybody here is a caretaker of Peterborough. And if we subdivide it into 100 house lots or 50 or 25, whatever, that's it, as far as history is concerned. So I think we have to look at this property, which, as everyone agrees, is a very special property, and figure out the best way to caretake it. So that's my vote.
Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon Kemp, Peterborough. It seems from the discussion tonight that there are two concerns. The main concern is to maintain open space, and the second is to have a golf club if it is viable. I'm surprised. A number of years ago, we passed an RSA 4114A, which gave the board authority to buy and sell land after holding a public hearing. We also passed an article at town meeting that established the Open Space Fund, which contains roughly $400,000. The select board was named as agents to expend. So I feel there was legislation on the table that allows you to buy this as open space. You can sit on it, see if you can lease it to somebody to run as a golf club. Maybe you could get Hidden Hills to lease the clubhouse as a function hall. It can be done in a two-step process, and if you did use open space money, it would have no effect on the tax rate.
Thank you, Gordon. Yes, sir.
I'm Charles Lovett. I've been from Harrisville, and I've been a member of the club for more than 30 years. And in listening to everyone here tonight, and I feel that the golf course is definitely an asset to the town. Is anyone considering there are many expenses to this golf course that are charges from the town? And considering, could any easements be given in this area, which whoever buys it, if they buy it, or if the same group keeps it, reduces their expense? You can say, get more revenue, get more revenue. In tough times, you don't get more revenue, but you still have the same expense. And I think the town could be a party to the operation if it could give it the course some easement and expense.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Susan Blanchett. I'm not a resident of Peterborough, but I am president of the Place to Go After School program. And this program needs the country club. We have met there for a number of years. We have about between 35 and 40 children who attend the after-school program. Many of these children come from families who, they're latchkey kids, children of one parent. They learn social functions, they do community service. This is an ideal spot for the Place to Go. The buses go right to the country club. It's just a perfect location, and we're just hoping that the town can work somehow with the country club to keep this operation open so that we can continue to meet there. If we don't, we have no idea where we're going to go. We do pay rent. We do help with the upkeep on, in the back part of it, and I hope that the town can work with the country club to keep it open.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Yes.
I have a question. I'm not sure to whom to
Could you just
address
identify
it.
yourself?
Maud Salinger.
Okay, thank you.
My question is, has the
club looked at a capital campaign or other means of trying to sustain itself, to create an endowment so that during slow membership times they can continue to meet their expenses? And in addition to that, from the comments that are being made about not having a lot of membership, it seems as though a marketing and publicity campaign is also something that would be worth the Monadnock Country Club looking into. So maybe that's a question for Jim.
Yep. Jim, do you want to respond to that?
The only capital campaign that we've had to do with well. We raised $8,500 to drill a hole in the ground 800 feet deep. And it's still there. Whether it's 2 inches more or several hundred feet more, I don't know. But to answer your other question, no, we have not had a capital campaign. Frankly, I think the members, if they're anything like me, have a certain limit of what we can spend. And so we have not put a capital campaign to save the club. We do expect, assuming that we get a favorable PNS that will extend at least for next year, the golfing memberships. They will honor our golfing memberships. A club like ours has to take in their dues as early as possible in order to have money to sustain them through the winter months, which we'll be doing shortly, but not until after we know where we're going. We will be asking the membership for some additional funds that they feel that they can expend. But we've done other fundraising things. We had a raffle recently, and that sort of thing. But when you're faced with the things that we can't control, such as taxes, costs of water, and all other costs, the town can have some savings, by the way. They can buy fuel probably for a good buck a gallon cheaper than we can. I think they can buy electricity cheaper than we can. We probably break even on the fertilizer, but insurance and that sort of stuff cheaper than we can. So there are some savings to be made. But again, town has first option, and we do not want as a club to see it turn into house lots. If we want to just make money, and we have the right to do that, we could probably sell it for $1 million or more without any problem. We do not wish to do that. We want to keep it as open space and as a golf club for as long as possible. And that's why the town has the first option.
Thank you, Jim. I just want to invite people, and I hope they can hear me, to anyone in the lobby outside if they'd like to come in, if they have a question or a comment. Great, okay. Dave?
My name's David Riley. I live here in town. I do not play golf, and I'm not a member of the country club. I do know a lot of people who are members there and are really concerned about the club's future. And it seems that all I've heard tonight is, can it survive the way it's going now? Why doesn't it have to be turned over to the town? But I haven't heard anything about offering it for sale to a developer who would come in and improve it. And the facility needs vast improvements. I haven't heard anything that suggests that there's an offer out there to have someone come in, take it over, preserve what it is, and improve it. And I'm just wondering if there's been any effort in that regard.
The answer is no, because we're again giving the town the first option.
Couldn't you offer it for sale and then give the town the option?
I suppose anything's possible, but I think I've stated the club's position.
Okay.
Thank you,
That's my question.
There's a lady in the back row.
Yes.
Gretchen Orr, Peterborough. I want Maud to know that so much of the work at the country club is done by volunteers. Every event that we have is apt to be staffed by volunteers. There's no paying done with anybody other than the manager, the one manager, and her helper. And otherwise, the members do the work. And we enjoy doing the work. And it's an important part.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Greg Conley. I live on High Street. I'm not a member. My wife is a member. And I love having the country club there. I could play the It's basically a failed business, is what we're looking at. And the good business either has a good product that will attract people, you invest in it, similar to what that gentleman was talking about there. So, you know, whether this is ever viable, again, like a lot of businesses, become unsustainable over a certain amount of time. This may be one of them, whether it can ever become a golf course again, or continue to be a golf course. It's already proven that it can't be a golf course because it can't pay its bills, it can't pay its taxes. And a lot of people don't come to this golf course because it's not a quality golf course in comparison to some of the other ones in the area. I'm not saying it's not a good golf course, and it couldn't be. It could be a real gem, but is it sustainable? How many members do you have to have? How many rounds per week do you have to do? You know, what is the real business model of this? And what I don't hear is what this gentleman was saying. I don't know of a business plan. I'm not a member. I'm not a member of their board, so I'm not privy to that information. But just sort of coming to the town and saying, "Oh, here, take it over because it's not working for us," is it's a good indication that its history, its future as a golf course is very suspect. I'll just be real careful with that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Kathleen Allen, just a comment. Somebody said a little while ago that there's no reason why it couldn't be marketed. So I'm wondering why the group who has it hasn't done one of those great marketing campaigns for it already.
Do you want to address that to the chair of the board? Is that what?
Well, you said that, right, Phyllis? Is that your name?
I don't think I said anything
You
about
said something
marketing.
about it could
No.
be marketed.
Not me.
Maybe referring to somebody else. I was wondering why there wasn't a serious marketing
I didn't say a thing
campaign
about
done
marketing.
earlier.
I think in Rodney's presentation, that was one option. Do you have a comment on that?
I didn't hear what you said.
Do you have a comment, a further viewpoint on that?
No, it was just what I said, why the marketing campaign wasn't really going out there full-fledged.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Yes, Joanne.
Joanne Carr, Summer Street. Just a full disclosure, I'm also a member of the Conservation Commission. I'm not speaking on behalf of that committee, but I appreciate what some folks have been saying in terms of, I feel as though I have a lack of information on the business plan and sustainability of a golf course in general. And it seems to me that either the golf course, the country club itself, and certainly the community should have a much better handle on the viability of an enterprise like that before we embark on it. However, that being said, I think to a certain extent, I feel as though we're premature in our discussion in that we haven't investigated some business alternatives and some development alternatives that have been mentioned already tonight. You know, the possibility of transfer of development rights, the sale of development rights, the possibility of putting a restriction on it. If the country club or the Monadnock Club is really intent on protecting this as an open space and a golf course, they are within their full rights and abilities right now to put on a development restriction ensuring that in perpetuity that this remains a golf course, and then put it on the market for sale as such. I think there's some discussions, and we could perhaps benefit from a mutual conversation on things like this before we move forward with this idea of purchase and sale and moving down that path. I'm a little bit concerned by some of the comments that were made by the selectmen that even though we're having this discussion, what I heard was we're probably going to go ahead on this path of a purchase and sale anyway. So that raises some concern for me because, as a landowner and a taxpayer, I'm a little concerned about buying an enterprise that might not make money, and I'm certainly not a golf expert. I don't know about that. So that's my comment.
I think those are excellent comments, and we do have some next steps as to how we want to do the due diligence before we make a decision here. There's one other comment? Yes?
Jamie Trowbridge from Peterborough, and I am on the board at McDowell.
Okay.
I have a procedural question, and it may be for the selectmen, but it may also be for the chairman at the golf course. Joe, you seem confident that we could get a 2/3 vote to back whatever the purchase and sale is, but I think we've all seen a lot of things fail on a 2/3 vote. So if maybe we don't need to go to the town meeting according to Gordon, but if we do, and the purchase and sale is made now, and then in May it fails, town fails to approve that, what happens?
Then the board will be free to market the property on the open market?
It's null and void. It would be dependent on the warrant article passing.
So how would that work for the golf course to be sort of hanging out next May?
It's a long way to wait. I guess I'll restate that we want to keep it as a golf course, but the second choice, of course, if the town can't take it over, would be to keep it as open space. The lady is quite correct. We can put on any P&S agreement that it be kept as such. And I can't speak for the board because we're not in a meeting at the moment. But if I have anything to do it, it'll be that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Yes, Jeff?
Has a purchase and sale agreement been signed?
No. Rodney, perhaps this is a good time to explain the next steps that the board will be taking and the staff will be taking as we work through this decision.
The next step is to compile the information that we have tonight. Take a look at it. We'll be making comments to the board. Obviously, the board is well aware of what has happened tonight. We are working on some modifications to a draft agreement that'll be in front of the board as soon as we can possibly get it there. Once the board has seen it, if it is okay with the select board, it'll then go to the board of directors at the country club. If it's okay with the board of directors to move it forward, it will then go to their membership to vote on it. It's the membership that has the final say at the country club. If in fact we get that far and the membership approves an agreement, the effort to do all the due diligence that we've heard about tonight, all the due diligence that will be relative to the desires of the country club, business plans, financial modeling, and as you saw in the presentation, there are alternatives that will follow us through that. And one of the alternatives that we've talked about tonight is the possible intervention of a third party, be that through a contract service or through some other agreement. If we continue down that path, we then enter into possibly the CIP program that the town runs, the capital improvement program. It'll go through that committee to assess the financial impact of the town, work it into their 6-year plan. It will then proceed on to the budget committee process, where we'll have discussions and public hearings at that level. Depending on whether it's a simple appropriation or a bond issue, we could have another public hearing. And then at some point in May of 2012, it'll be voted on. At this point, I would anticipate that would be at the open session, which would be the Wednesday following the ballot voting on the Tuesday in May. It's a very long process. There's a lot of information that will need to be looked at, developed, understood. There are, as you heard, there are many, many options as to the potential uses at the golf course. There are options for funding from outside agencies, be it any of the conservancies or other land trusts. All that is on the table. We've started a lot of that review as of today. We have some general information, but until we're sure that the select board here and the board of directors and the membership at the country club are in favor of moving forward on that track, we're on hold a little bit. It's a long process ahead of us, and I think that the information tonight and the next few decisions will really tell where we go.
May I ask where the funding, how much the due diligence is going to cost and where the funding is coming from?
Staff.
Yeah, and we're doing this internally. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the whole process, because what What I'm hearing, Jane Blanchard, Old Dublin Road, Peterborough, is if the purchase and sale agreement in it, as Mr. Tobridge talked about, and we come to vote in May, that the town turns it down, then I'm concerned that there may be someone out there who would like to purchase it. There's all this time that has not been on the market. No one in Boston, New York, wherever knows that there's a little gem here. There are people, my understanding is that have a lot of money. There are people, the middle class that don't, but there are people out there with a lot of money who may be filling for a profit. We have a colony here, our town, it carries a lot of character, that we're missing the boat on not getting out there.
Sure.
And maybe I'm misinterpreting the process, but that's what concerns me. I'd love to see the board say, let's put it on the market right now. Let's put it in conservation or whatever we need to do to protect it and put it out there. Maybe that's naive, maybe not understanding it all, but I think we're losing time because in May, from my understanding, the club gets sports something.
That is your board's decision.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Donna Burt, my husband is a member of the golf course. I totally agree with Jane. I think they ought to be putting it, the easements on it to protect its conservation, but I think they ought to market it. Put it on the market for sale.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to be in the business of the golf course.
Okay. Yes.
Phyllis Porter, I don't know that I would be in favor of letting the town purchase all of that good property, dirt cheap, just to leave it there. Why should the country club allow that to happen? That doesn't make a bit of sense to me, just to leave it as a bird sanctuary. I love the birds, but I don't think that's a good business deal for the club. You know, so I'm saying, look, you know, we're giving you the chance to take it. Otherwise, the club should come up with plans A, B, C, and D, sell it to the biggest developer and let them buy condominiums. Beautiful place up there for condos. I don't think that's a good deal for the club to just sell it to the town dirt cheap and then just let it leave there fallow. Now made myself very unpopular, but I do that a lot.
That is a decision of your board. Yes.
Yes, that's right.
I just want to say to Phyllis, I agree. I don't think they should not just be giving it to the town. I think that's why I'm saying put the easements on it to protect it, and put it on the market. Sell it. But I would prefer to have it stay conserved as a golf course.
Okay.
So,
I don't hear a lot of support from other people.
John.
John Patterson, I live out east of town. I just am curious, because I don't understand this. Who actually owns, well, supposing the club gets sold to the town or some other entity, how's that money distributed? Who actually owns the club? Who walks off with the $1 million or whatever it's worth? The individual members? Should I be a member next year and cash in? I don't understand.
We get enough of those.
Jim, is there an answer to that question?
The members, current members, so you're too late. By the way, there was an eagle that flew over today. The members own the country club, and they could, in their hopefully very good judgment, do whatever is necessary. But I think we've pretty well convinced them that we want to keep it open first as a golf course, and then a golf course, and then open space if that's have to be. We'd like to, I'm sure, explore the conservative ideas and all of that. But to answer your specific question, the members own it, and the members will be taking their vote in the very near future.
Jim, that was the buzzard that flew over.
There are a few here, but
He was looking for you.
Yes, Francie.
Francie Von Mertens, Peterborough. I just am so appreciative to the board of the country club for inviting the town to be a partner in deciding something very important. It's very important land, its location, its views, its history. and give us time, and I think that's what you're doing. And I see it as a real partnership between the country club and the town to take time and to make sure that the decision ultimately, whether it's a year out, 2 years out, is the right one. And I'm just so appreciative, and I think it took a lot of meetings on your part and dialogue back and forth. I know the committee process, but thank you very much.
Yes.
I have one other question.
Could you identify yourself again, please?
I live on Peterborough, Old Sharon Road. What can the town do, I want to know, to help send business towards the golf course for renting out the hall more? And could they, you're talking about something to do in the wintertime for recreation up there. Is that something that they could reimburse the club for using the facilities? Can it be a partnership where the town can also help with the country club?
Well, certainly something that we can look at. Any comment on that? Are there any other comments? Yes, Loretta?
Hi, I'm Loretta Laurinaitis. I just wanted to say that I support what you all as a select board are doing. I hope you will continue looking into this and look into what Gordon said about open space. I think it's a really valuable piece of property there, and it does add to the character of Peterborough. I'm not a golfer, so it doesn't serve me in terms of a sport. And for the country club, I don't know if there's any other way. I don't know anything about your membership or how you do things, but can you have non-golfing members? Can you open it up to other people who could then use that as a kind of a walking area or a quiet area to come to?
Jim, yes, please.
There is a social membership.
Okay.
And right now, it's mostly beach players and ping pong players, but one time it involved the tennis courts, but the tennis courts are no longer used. But it's a great walking area. If you're out there during golf season, probably try to be very careful.
Thank you, Jim. All right, are there any other comments? I want to be sure that everyone who wants to speak has had an opportunity. Okay, David?
David Macy again. I just also wanted to thank the town administration for stepping in to try and sort all of this out, because it was brought to you as a question mark, and it's not an easy question, and so I know it's a challenge to filter through all of the options and then all the opinions and then the facts. There's so much going on. I just thank you for making an effort in this instance.
Thank you for knowing that, and I assure everyone here. I assure everyone here in this room that we are going to do our due diligence, and we will look very carefully at this issue. And certainly, we're taking in everything that you've said. This is just the beginning of a very long process, we know. So there will be more meetings, more opportunities for people to come forward. We need some time to see if we can develop a business plan that would make the golf course viable. If it isn't, then it's something we won't do. We've heard you all talk about the importance of open space. We've listened to those of you that have talked about development. We certainly will be looking at all of this. So I want to thank you very much for coming out this evening and sharing your thoughts with us. Liz, Joe, do you have anything you want to add?
Thank you for thanking us. That doesn't happen too much. Once a year.